Hi everyone, I'm Mike.
And my name's Carl, and this is the Corepunk podcast. And this is the second time we're trying to record this today because my
Hey.
PC just didn't like it. Said no to the podcast today.
Not today.
Um, yeah, some housekeeping up front. Just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who watched the last video. It had been 11 months from our last post, and the response has been absolutely excellent.
Brilliant.
Can't thank everyone enough. Um, so yeah, thank you for watching that, and thank you for coming back if you've come back.
Ye-
So today we're going to talk about. Well, I'm going to clickbait everyone into watching this video and say an hour of core punk gameplay, I think, but it's going to be about the Professions video that they released back in February.
Yes.
Um, Mike,
Which was an hour long.
which was an hour long.
So
So
is-
yeah,
and if they can't read the thumbnail, that doesn't quite maybe say an hour. Then I'm just saying.
that's it. It's all right.
Yeah,
No,
it's
we'll
all
be
good. Yeah, but thank you again. I'd just like to echo that. Thank you for everyone. It was brilliant to see that kind of reception of just kind of that hype coming back.
yeah,
That hype we had a month
yeah,
ago, a year ago. Sorry, 11 months ago.
yeah,
Um, so that's really good. Seeing people liking and making sure they subscribe and watching you.
yeah.
Welcome back.
50% of the viewers do not subscribe, but it's all right.
Let's make
It's
it
all right.
60. Small steps. Let's get a few of you
Yeah, let's
subscribed.
go.
You've come back, so thank you if you
Yeah,
are watching this. But
but yeah,
yeah,
it really
this is kind of a bit of a time
throwback. Yeah,
throwback to February 2023, which is 7 months ago now. Um, and it kind of needed its own
needs its own
video.
video, and
There's
yeah, it's
plenty to
out.
go over.
We're not going to get too nitty gritty about everything in the Professions sort of side of thing, but just sort of throw our thoughts out because it's such a good look at like what a play session of Core Punk could be. That's how it feels to me. We said
Mhm.
in our other take of this video how they did the alpha 15 minutes video, and yeah, it's easy to make a game look really nice in a sort of specific section.
Yeah,
But this feels very much just like someone's logged in and we're just going to go crafting and get some resources.
it's exactly
Um,
it. It is very easy to and that's why we have movie and game trailers that are only a few minutes long because you get all those punchlines, and that's of course when you are PR and you're selling the game. Of course, that's what you want. You want the best bits. You want the highlight reel. But it's nice to see this side of it, where, like I say, it is an hour and a bit of just pure. This is what the game is if you were doing this activity,
yeah,
which feels nice to see.
yeah. And I just want to say straight off the bat, it's cool that they've put in the FPS counter down in the bottom right. It's showing that it's sort of playing the footage is 4K, so
Mhm.
I guess the game's running a nice stable sort of just under 60 frames there.
Yeah, and that's
And they've
throughout
been
as well. I've
yeah, yeah,
noticed
yeah.
it doesn't kind of.
Doesn't dip
And
when you
there's
get to the city and the town.
Yeah, and there's no cuts as well. I think that's the other thing I quite liked about this video actually is that it is just the video. This is it.
Yeah, it's just
It's
an
not
hour. Yeah,
chopped and changed where they go, oh yeah, oh oh the podcast failed recording. Let's try again. Don't know who does that, but yeah, it's
yeah,
like it is really good, and I think and obviously if you're in the core punk community now, you, you're invested at a level that you're not often invested with most games of like pre-alpha hype. So
yeah, yeah,
so being interested and seeing kind of what the game is, and seeing like what it looks like and the UI, like you can see here being very very nice and such.
yeah. It's a good point about the UI because it is just so in theme and adds a lot to it looks everything about what you see in this video is just it's so polished. Like I know that that's what they keep saying has been the reason for these delays, but you really are seeing it pay off a bit in this video, aren't you? You know what I mean? It's
100%.
just like all the UI is just really thematically together and sort of just nothing just sort of stands out as a bit like, oh no, I don't like that. I
Mm.
don't just even these interaction icons just easy to read, nice and quick, but
And
still in theme.
it's very thematic, and that's what you want from a role playing game. You don't want to be suddenly pulled out with like a big huge
Yes,
screen.
yeah, yeah,
And this is, quite good, and very there are over MMOs who do this, and as like we've talked about previously, Corepunk seems to take all the nice bits of the things that work with other games and make it their own. Because
yeah,
in certain MMOs, if you were to speak to this NPC now, it'd bring up a nice little big box, probably half the size of the screen, going, "Oh, here's what you do," and it kind of pulls you out of that. So I like that the icon, like you say, is very intuitive. You know what the cross means, you know what that means, and the text comes from the character. So you're
yeah,
immersed. If you are into role playing and you know your character is the commando orc from wherever, and that's how you play your games, you're not suddenly pulled out by, oh, here's a screen, kill 7 goblins, click
yeah,
accept. Like and
yeah, yeah,
that's quite nice. I thought that was a very don't know.
yeah.
It's not
It
unique,
also
but it
looks
feels good.
later on in the video as well. It looks like you can just pick up sort of random quests from finding objects. There was like a
Yeah,
there's one thing he sees and it comes up with a title, and I'm just like, oh, that looks like you could just if I went and interacted with it, all of a sudden a quest line's going to pop up.
yeah,
I also forgot that they mentioned that like back in the Q&A that this is well, ages ago now, but there was never going to be any quest markers. Sort of
yeah,
like once you pick up a quest, there's no sort of X marks the spot. Go
yeah.
pick up 6 of this thing in this area. You just got
Mm.
to sort of follow it. Follow you got
Listen,
to
listen.
listen
Yeah,
to the conversations and actually like yeah, use your head about it. Because I was
yeah,
expecting that. I forgot at first when I was watching it. I was like, how do you know where to collect these gnat bodies? These 10 that he's looking at. I was just like, oh no, you've got to,
yeah.
what I mean?
It
You've got to do
says
your
head
research. You've got to
follow the
look.
northwest path, so whatever it is, or over by this settlement here and stuff. Yeah, they're kind of it adds a level of it's not difficulty, I guess, but I like that there's a level of everything you've got is there. It's just not like given to you on a plate where it's like, here's a line and follow this glittery trail and then you'll find the goblins you need to kill. It's like I kind of like that, and it's a bit refreshing. I think it'll bring a certain audience to the to,
I
to
think
the game.
I think for the community as well, it's going to make the Discord very active. You know what I mean? Because and
Mm,
like as a content creators and stuff, like oh, I need to find this thing. I can't find this quest. I can't find where this object is in this quest. Who can
yeah,
tell me where it is? Who can help me go out and find it? Who wants to party up and do this?
yeah,
You could even have sort of like trackers who are just like actual in real life. I'm a tracker. If you need me to come and help you on your quest, I know where the stuff is.
yeah.
I'll jump in and we'll go and play.
Like you say, that community spirit is certainly something that could definitely be nurtured by that. Like
Yeah,
you can have a person who is maybe um hundreds of hours into the game, and you get tutors and mentors and stuff in all kinds of games, but like you say, having that kind of pathfinder of like, follow me, I know where this troll is.
exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah,
like
yeah,
that creates an element of, like, I think back to some old MMOs where I played and I hadn't got a clue what I was doing, and then this guy in shiny armor appears and is like, follow me, and like, he gave me a new sword, and it was like, oh, this is great. And then like those kind of narratives that just help build what already feels like a world that feels quite alive. Like there's a lot of
yeah,
the game already feels alive. Like you say, you see little critters running around, you see the plants reacting to you walking through them, and all these kind of
yeah.
things.
It's
um
lovely, and it's very
it,
so atmospheric, and I
yeah,
love the fog of war as well. I think even that just brings a nice atmosphere to it as well. It's just
yeah,
yeah,
I
very
wasn't
impressed.
sold on it at the start. When you first showed me
Fog of
that
war,
15-minute
right?
yeah, I was very like, I don't why do you need that? But then
Yeah,
as you learn about what the core values of how they want this game to be, and also, and then when I realized, like, that's your screen anyway. Like, you can't
yeah,
ever see further than your screen.
Ye-
So
yeah,
why? it seemed
Why are you worried? Yeah.
such a bizarre concept at the time, and then I was like, on an isometric game, it's not like I can look down and look at the mountains in the distance
Oh,
anyway.
yeah. Yeah.
So the fact that it adds that element of surprise, and I, yes, in real life, can't see round the corner of walls anyway. So, and then once I kind of got that mindset, I was like, actually, this is class. This is brilliant, and especially with that kind of um the PvP aspect, if you want to engage in that, and the
Yeah.
bounty hunting and all that stuff, like that will make that feel so much more like where the
Yeah.
last ping was, and you're like chasing him. It's just gonna be absolutely class, something like that.
Class.
But yeah, it looks great. I think, like I say, that's a massive takeaway. And the whole hour of it just kind of, this will be kind of more what your game is. This, if you're choosing to go out crafting and gathering, this may be
Yeah.
what an hour of gameplay looks like, unfiltered, unadulterated.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Um, and and going further into that, I like how they have added I feel it's a unique system. It's not in an MMO I've played before, because we've had the typical thing of mastery levels, which we see. The more you do a
Yeah.
thing, the better you become at it. Um, but then there's this efficiency, which we see,
Yes.
which is something that is just like this change separates it from other games, but also is weirdly the most inclusive by not uh, gatekeeping you between doing other professions. It's just that. So essentially, what efficiency is, the more you do that thing in one go, the better.
Yeah.
The better it's going to be, that you can get higher level resources, and there's less chance for you to fail, because that's the
Yeah.
thing that they add in this game, which is quite interesting.
So let's delve deeper into that sort of the efficiency of the gathering, will you? Because it's a different mechanic that I've seen in sort of an MMO, and it sort of stops you being locked into one sort of profession, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a very smart way of making your character, like, I always think about this in other MMOs. Like, when I become a miner in other MMOs, I suddenly forget how to use an axe to chop a
Yeah.
tree. It's like, oh,
Yes.
you don't know
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
to chop a tree. Or suddenly when I'm fishing, it's like, well, you don't know how to cook now. And it's like, it's not how it works. So, like, the implementation, of course, is mastery to it. The mastery levels, which we've said, like, becoming a grandmaster, you will always be a grandmaster. But the efficiency side of it is, the more you do a thing, the better your bonuses are going to be.
Yeah.
Um, which is something unique to, I feel like, an MMO, that allows you to still get those other other nodes that you come across.
Well, it
Um,
just feels like you're living it more as that sort of like your character. You know what I mean? If you want to do
surviving.
something one day, you can go and do it. You know what I mean? If my character wants to be chopping trees and then going gathering some herbs, then you can do that
Yeah.
instead of just being like, I'm a skinner and all I do is skin animals, and
Yeah.
it's just so yeah,
I do always find that a weird kind of thing. So that the idea of you being able to craft and gather as in what you need, but the bonuses come in from picking a lane, of course, is something that is unique, I feel, to an MMO. And again, kind of inclusivity of, like, you suddenly see a tree you want to chop, and you are a miner, you don't forget how to chop a tree, but you forget how to do it efficiently. And
yes, yes,
efficiency
yeah,
just is like,
exactly, yeah,
mwah, like that kind
yeah.
of
That's
level of,
it's a perfect way to do it, isn't it?
yeah, because we see it enough. We see efficiency and gathering and stuff in other genres, but to see it in an MMO in the way it's been implemented or will be implemented is something quite interesting. Because the crux of it is you can be a beginner, but be an efficient beginner. And what an efficient beginner would mean is that you've got more chance of getting the higher tier resources, because you are doing that that node, that node, that node.
Yeah.
And what it also means is like with failure, because there is a chance of failure, even when it shows that you're gathering a particular type of like if you hit in a rock, it might just be a rock, but it might also be a iron ore chunk, and it'll show that as a progress bar, and it might get to the end, and you might still fail because you aren't efficient at gathering it. You might have butchered it
y-
and hit it too many times.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of side of it, which I think is really I'm interested because it helps you pick a lane, which I think some players need. Some players just need that thing of like, I am a miner and I am an armor smith because if I mine the iron ore, I can make iron armor, and so that's all people want sometimes.
Yeah.
But the idea of like, I don't know, and again, it kind of sinks into that role playing element of like, you know, something it depends how deep you want to go in, but you could be a gatherer of herbs and an alchemist, and then the market can change.
Yeah.
It might be oversaturated with people making those little joints and crazy pills that make your magic resistance better, like all those kind of things. And then you can shift, but it's not a case of starting from at the bottom. You are a beginner, but if you just keep doing it, suddenly you're an efficient beginner
Yeah.
at whatever it is, butchery
I
or
think it
whatever you choose.
also keeps a bit of the fun alive for sort of say like you go into town, you want to craft something, but say I've been mining all day, but I need a specific herb. It's
Mm,
not now that I need to take 5 minutes out to go and respec. I
yeah,
can just nip back out and go and gather it quickly. Yeah,
yeah,
it'll take me a bit longer because my efficiency is down, but it's not. It means that I'm not sort of tied into right. How do I spec this? Right, I need to, I mean, you need to clear this tree, respec into this, so I can then go and get that.
yeah, 100%. And I kind of like that as well because there are going to be people who play this game who play it solo and that lone wolf style because that is a play in
Yeah,
itself. Um, I imagine myself though, and this is just me, is that I will just probably buy that herb, or there'll be someone in our guild and our community who is the herbalist and is the butcher, and I'm like, hey, does anyone have a slab
this.
of boar meat that I need to make whatever it is? Um,
Yeah,
which kind of leads on to the actual crafting side of it, which I find is quite interesting.
yeah,
With the So obviously every time the gathering side's quite simple. There's three tiers, and again, the joy of Corepunk is they're sticking with the three tiers for seemingly everything. So there's like rarity may be an exception, but there's three tiers of nodes per tree, per bush,
yeah.
whatever, and
And it was
within them
always.
can always change.
And what were the? It was sort of like ancient, old. What were the levels? Sorry, for the, like the magic tree sort of thing that they said that you could gather. Trying to
Yes.
find it.
So like I know the mining one is that it's just metal, polymetal, and then ancient, and then it's
Yeah.
like no magic tree, old magic tree, ancient tree. It's something like
Yeah,
that.
that's it.
And
No, it is that, yeah, it
yeah,
is that.
and
So it seems like ancient is your best.
ancient is the tier three. But that's what I mean is like imagine you're going out and you are collecting the metal veins. There's a few polymetals, and then you see an ancient tree.
You can
Like
just
you
get it.
aren't excluded. You might not. The chances of you getting the thing you can get from a tier three node is low, but there's still a chance. And how great is that if you were like, I've had a successful mining mission, I've got some ancient metal scraps or whatever it is that comes from them, and by luck there was a ancient tree and you got that magic log that you needed,
Exactly,
and you think
perfect, yeah.
you might not use it, but could sell it, money, money,
Sell
money.
it, put it in the
It's all
bank, save it.
give it to your guildies, whatever. So yeah, so that does correlate throughout all of it. So your mining, your logging, herbalism, butchery, they're the gathering ones. And then the crafting is kind of the same thing. But the bit I was going to add on to the crafting side of it was that of course, crafting the things gives you the mastery. The more you do it consistently gives you the efficiency. But to do the higher tiers, so the basics of it is it goes common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, I think, is the
Yeah.
tier system. Um, but to make the next tier of that particular thing, so obviously you can make a basic joint and then you can make an uncommon variant and a rare variant and so on. Is that the way it works? Is you need to be able to make the or have the base tier,
Yeah.
and then what it requires is the next tier of resource to help make that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it might just be the base joint plus a new herb, which obviously when you infuse it makes it more potent and gives you
Yeah, yeah,
better
exactly,
healing.
yeah.
So I like that as well, that you could, even if you weren't particularly into crafting or gathering, I mean, certainly gathering, there is no reason whatsoever, I don't think, of hitting every node at the beginning because
Yeah, just
either stockpile it for yourself, sell the stuff you don't need. The efficiency probably won't matter, especially day one. I mean, if I saw something on an auction house or someone trying to trade with me, something I've not seen, I'm probably going to offer more money than it's actually worth just because it's a new shiny thing. And I'm like, ah, so
yeah,
if
you
you
just
were,
wanna see what it is.
you just want to see what it is and think, oh, that's got a blue border around it, or that's got a gold border around it. That must mean something. Um, so I would certainly say that. And then, like, as far as crafting, you can always still craft the base item because the person who wants to make it into a higher tier item needs the base item. So even if you're only a base level crafter, y- there is there's still a need for you. You could sell those basic resources because the person who wants to make the higher tier can't be bothered doing that and that. Um,
There's there's
so
also a chance every time that you will get a better tier than the thing you're actually trying to craft as well, isn't there?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what they said at the end, which is quality, which is
It's the
proper
same
nice though.
same with
Imagine that, you
same
know what
with
I
the
mean?
same with the nodes as well. And again, that's where that efficiency comes in. You can actually you could hit like the base magic tree, but there
Yeah,
is still, if you are efficient, there is a chance that you could get the tier two
yeah,
tree resource from it because you're efficient. You know what you're looking for. You know where to hit the log. What
yeah.
however thematically you play it into the game. So that's that's something really cool. And again, this video just kind of shows that bigger loop for everything
Do
and
you
how
see
it works.
yourself doing quite a bit of crafting in the game? Do you d
From the announcement last month about how there will be a crafting talent tree and a
Yeah,
looting, we talked about the looting tree as well. I can see myself doing more than I like crafting anyway, and I always
yeah,
try and max out a profession. Like in my guild wars, I've got like the tier level 500 grandmaster for most things, so I do always strive for it. But I always get there, and then I'm like,
what now?
well, I don't then use it. This is the
Right,
thing. It's like I can make ascended armor pieces in Guild Wars, and they're really good to make because it makes my character better. And I can make exotic stuff because I could easily sell that on the auction house and make money. But I hit 500, and then I'm just gonna go, yeah, done it. Sound.
yeah.
But
Does
I feel in this like there is there's going to be a reason to do them because it's always going to be supply and demand.
Yeah, and the efficiency doesn't reduce over time, does it? It's only when you use a different,
Yeah,
sort of like profession, like mining or logging, something
yeah.
like that.
So the example we saw was the um, gathering of, it was between mine logging and mining, weren't it? I think for the most part,
Yeah,
and every time you did the mining, it would take 5% off the herb gathering and then add it on to. So, and I think once a thing's zero, it'll obviously always stay zero.
yeah,
So they
stay that.
will eventually get to that point. Whether there is a happy medium, Now, this is something I've not thought about. Whether there is a happy medium of, is it worth having everything float around 20%, 30%? Is there any benefit
Yeah,
to doing all four, but having them at 20%? Or is it better to have a 50-50, a 70-30 split? Or is it
yeah,
best to just be like, yes, 100%?
100%.
Um,
I wonder if there's any enhancers that you can take to like next 10 minutes, 20% extra efficiency into your profession. But then once you've done that, I guess so. No, I guess you then gain the 20% that you had through the enhancer, wouldn't you? So I
I
guess
see
that
what you
wouldn't work.
mean, yeah.
You know
And
what I mean? So
it could work. Yeah, that's an interesting point because that could work for.
a secondary enhancement, maybe. So say like you could take, say you're like what you're in an area where there's loads of trees for logging and there's a bit of mining.
Hmm.
Maybe you are jumping back and forth in between them. So maybe there could be an enhancer that would be like your secondary profession for the next 10 minutes remains at
It doesn't
whatever.
decay potentially.
Doesn't
Yeah,
decay.
yeah,
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 that'd be a good way. And then after 10 minutes, whatever you're using starts to decay again, you know?
yeah. A good idea. I can see there's some legs to that there because certain games might have like you say plus 20 to your mining for the next 10 minutes, but once the buff wears off, you have a debuff. So actually, after the 20 minutes or whatever, however the duration is, after your 20 minutes of plus 20 mining, actually you have a minus 10. So
Yeah,
you have
some
it, that there's a trade off for that initial like boost. Um,
yeah. Like you were
and
tired or something, you know what I mean? Like you've taken a
yeah,
load of
well, if it's
steroids and
anything,
then you've gone
exactly.
out, you know what I mean? Like, because it's all the drugs and joints
Yeah,
and stuff in it.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, maybe just like you're on the come down to then your efficiency goes down again.
Yeah, an upper, oh, euphoric. I love chopping
Yeah,
trees. And
yeah,
then you come
exactly,
off
yeah.
after and you're like, I hate wood. I never want to see it again in my life. Like a
Yes.
hangover.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly, yeah.
but that could work. And it could also work in the crafting sense as well as the gathering that. Um, because obviously your mastery is always your mastery. That's fine. But there might be a way to take something that allows your efficiency just for 10 minutes. So if you are suddenly constructing or doing alchemy, whatever it is, whilst you might not be efficient, there might be a way just to boost it up a little bit
Boost.
for 10
Yeah.
minutes. I could certainly see that. That would be an interesting. And again, who would make that? It would probably be an alchemist, or like so. There's you're recycling the effort, so resource collection, production,
Yeah.
consumption, and the cycle going and creating a need for it. Because if you are at the higher echelons where you're making epics and there's a chance, if a 1% chance suddenly becomes a 2% chance, if we're talking those kind of fine margins, I'm going to want to take the 2% chance.
Yeah.
And if it means, if I'm only going to craft one a day, of course I'll take the injection, the pill, the steroid, or whatever it is that enhances it for that 10 minutes so that there's more chance of me having a better whatever it is I'm crafting. So that
Yeah.
I actually could genuinely see that happening, to be honest.
I actually really did like the construction sort of profession. I like the idea that you could creating artifacts or like
Mhm.
leveling up these tiers of the artifacts. And
Yep.
we touched on it last time about the pips and stuff, but they actually explained it more in this
Yeah,
video.
they did.
Did you get a handle on what they were explaining there with
Yeah,
the tiers?
with the tiers and how the primary and the secondary. That was now I'm still a bit rusty on it, but basically when you upgrade from a
So,
common to an uncommon, um, the secondary, uh,
so it's like, yeah, your primary one's your basic stat, isn't it? Like, so
yeah,
if attack power, spell power, health, mana, and then your secondary is sort of like that is your sort of your buff to it. It's like your cooldowns, your buff durations, the vision radius.
health regens, all that. Yeah,
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 yeah. So the idea that um, if you increase the artifact quality, um, the more secondary stats there are. So
Yeah.
obviously getting it to, but how it inherits. Um, so if you put things together, how it inherits the primary stats and the secondary stats is a whole thing as well. So there's y- of c- the base is the base, like you say, your attack power, your health, we can all tangibly understand what those are. Um, but the idea that if you've got health regen and you want that to carry over, how
Yeah.
doing it becomes complicated. And there's something mentioned about the synthesis machine, which they don't go into a whole detail about, but that is a very similar implementation from, so Guild Wars has a kind of synthesis machine. It's called the Mystic Forge, where basically you can
Right.
chuck a bunch of items in and it'll just make
Make
something. And there
yeah.
are there are set recipes,
Like
so
the Zelda cooking pot. It's
yes,
like
exactly.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know if you put X, Y, and Z in, it's going to come out as that. But if you've got odds and sods, or like say there's a thing with a secondary stat that you want on another thing, there's like again they've not fully gone into it yet, and I know the
It's hard with the stuff like this because I throw it on you because you're our resident MMO player. You know,
yeah,
I'm very still a newbie with
yeah,
any sort of MMO. I played a bit of Guild Wars, played a bit of WoW, but never got into the weeds of sort of crafting and stuff like that. So
yeah. So
yeah, sorry to
the
throw it at you.
no, it's fine, and again these are all subject to change. So obviously, the base seems to be that the ho- how the crafting implementation is still kind of there is something about the stats, and again like you say the pips, the rarity of it, and how good that becomes. Again, it's the
Yeah,
3 tier thing, which I just think works. It is quite simple. If everything's a 3 tier, so whether it's a node is between tier 1 and 3, an item is between, but I mean items are between more tiers, but the stats on them are 3 tiers, and how to get those and what the benefit is
yeah.
it's quite simple for someone like yourself who is new. It's quite easy to understand that one is not as good as three, and
Well, they
uh,
they had the image as well for the constructor of sort of like beginner, there is no bonus.
mm,
Advanced, you'd get a 5% artifact power bonus, and master 10%.
yeah,
Very very easy to understand that, just with a three-tier system.
yeah, 100%. It's really good, and it's interesting because there were talks about I think it's the alchemy buff. Being quite strong at the moment in in what we've seen is that because
Yeah.
the proc chance of that is beginners nothing, advanced is you get one additional buff when using consumables, and a master is two additional buffs when using consumables. Now, looking at this video, we see the difference between when they use the like mana regen and the health regen items. Now, if you're going to be able to have two buffs on top of it, like that's quite a potent,
Yeah.
quite a potent thing. But then also, the offset is 10% weapon power for being a weaponsmith. Like how
Yeah.
do these intertwine, and where's where's
Yeah,
the
the weapon when you get into, like, the weapon profession, and the weaponsmithing, and you start looking at what they call the sockets for,
yeah,
the chips, it gets crazy because then you also got because they say that you can use them, so you have to have recharges for the weapon chips to then I can't forget what we were saying. Yeah, so here we go. Like, yeah, on hit effect. So yeah, you have like a charge for when each of those major chips, the advanced chips, are used. It's a limited number of charges, and
yeah,
each time the effect of that chip triggers, one charge will be removed.
yeah,
So then you've got to carry man. And I love that idea. It sort of reminds me of like Witcher when you used to get into battle, you'd oil the blade before.
Yeah, yeah.
sort of fighting a monster. It's that sort of like, all right, I'm going out now. Have I got my charges? Who am I going to be fighting? Because I
100%.
need, you know what I mean? I proper
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, I think they've really thought about this kind of. I keep referring to it as a cycle because that's what it is. It's like someone needs to produce those chips, um, whether they're drops or whatever. So there is always a need to kind of, it's no point just making the best in slot chip and you put it on your best weapon. And you know what? You never have to think about anything ever again. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's no kind of like you kind of and
It's a
then you kind of want to save your best weapon then for that
well, it's a
battle.
bit again. It's a bit like Zelda in the sort of like your durability with the weapon. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You
Yeah,
can only it sort of keeps you swapping out what weapon you're using and stuff like that.
yeah.
So
So I do really like that, and that's a nice touch. And
it's so
obviously,
funny because in
go
this
on.
video, it's so simply shown, but there's so much depth actually shown in this video to pull apart. Because yeah, so looking at when you start getting into the weeds about the weaponsmithing and the artifact crafting,
Mhm.
it's really hard to get my head around at times. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
can just see
it's
a
just
lot. It's going to be a lot of fun, you know,
yeah,
to really start being like, right, what chip can I get into my weapon? You know,
yeah.
like what sort of yeah.
Because there's standard
And
and advanced chips as well, which I'm pulling from memory is that the standard chips are stats, and then the advanced chips, which you say have the charges, are always like an effect. So
yeah,
like the
a
diff
non-hit effect. Yeah,
yeah, so or it's like it reduces mana cost or whatever, and whereas like a standard one is attack speed or mana regen. Um, so the fact that they've even differentiated that, and obviously again, if you want more of those slots, you have to make the better item. So there is a synergy for a weaponsmith to work alongside someone who crafts chips or even if it's a looter, maybe there's a specific chip that only drops in this dungeon or from this particular boss or whatever it may be. There is still a synergy there where you're going to want to be best friends with a looter in that case, because then you can make the better weapon, which then you could sell or use yourself, so then you can fell the other boss
yeah.
that's really hard, or in PvP if you're deciding to be a bounty hunter or a criminal or a mercenary, whatever. Um, so it, for an hour of just, if you took it as base level, it's an hour of a person going around farming a few camps, hitting a few rocks. Sometimes it succeeds, sometimes it fails, sometimes it has this nice shiny clover, and other times it doesn't. And like on base level, it seems really kind of like, all right. And to someone who isn't invested or maybe wants to understand the world of Corepunk, it can seem just very like, well, what what's
Or
going
what?
on?
Yeah.
But to anyone who just and the majority of people will be listening to this, I would hope, are into Corepunk. And if you're not and you're new, go watch our other videos because we talk about it all in more detail.
Mm,
But the idea of this kind of synergy, it all makes sense. It all kind of, it just, me, once I start going, that's it. I'm going to be theory crafting
exactly.
and working out whether I need to have the 10% weapon bonus or the two extra buffs. Am I going to be, huffing on the gentleman's mana pipe, as one of the items is genuinely called in this game?
And I think what I will say is because obviously we've just sort of been chatting now a lot about that, but just it's just I don't know. It's just great to have such a lengthy video of just to see the game in action in it. It's just so nice to be
yeah.
back and sort of yeah. It was yeah. Just impressed with that, and I'll put a link in the description to a massive. If you did want to get into the weeds of it, because we've been back and forth with our thoughts. Sometimes we just go on a tangent. But if you want to get into the weeds of the nitty gritty of it, Illumio and somebody else helped him make it. Sorry, let me find out. Not a sound.
Mhm.
Um, created a big thread in the game
Yeah.
discussions on the forums. So I'll put that at the bottom, and then you can go through and it it really details in a really nice way everything that's shown in the video.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
Mike, I
Uh,
think you said you wanted to discuss something else as well
yeah,
with the
so
video,
so
didn't you?
so again, because obviously we jumped back in time. We went back to February. There was just another news article between then and obviously our previous
Yeah,
episode about which was back in May, where they were talking about basically bots itemization, camps, and I just thought we'd very briefly go over kind of because there's some
yeah, of
cool
course,
bits
yeah.
in there that we'll put a link obviously to the article. Um, Eugene talked a while back about bots. That's how they've kind of populated the world to kind of
Yeah,
because there is no replication for having thousands of people in your
people.
game,
Yeah,
but you can't give an unfinished game to thousands of people because
no, of
that's just
course.
not how the world works. So they were talking about how they've implemented the bots and how front end and back end help with optimization, all that good things. Um, so they use bots to help get feedback because their behaviors were mimicking that of what they expect a player to be. And they were just basically talking about they're using it for load testing to test the servers, which is really good. And I hope that obviously with the play testing coming and then inevitably the closed beta
Oh,
test,
the play
all those stuff.
test.
I
How are
know,
we getting?
I
We're
know, I
praying,
know, I
praying.
know. Whoever I need to.
Whoever,
I
yeah.
don't mind. So yeah, so they basically just updated on that because they did say they were having some really optimization issues, which is the whole point of it. They feel like now that with load testing for the servers, there's been progress. Basically, is is
Right?
is what they touched on. The itemization, which they just wanted to touch, was how um, the different sets of characteristics fall into the new items for things like artifacts and that. And then there's some nice key art for it. It goes through loads of different stuff.
It's quite
And
a lot.
again,
A lot of it is stuff we touched in the last episode as
yeah,
well, isn't
and
it,
then
Mark?
and then the
Yeah.
camps, which again they showed the camps, but then we've had an even up, newer update of there, and same with the creatures. And the creature one's quite nice actually to look at because it shows the different like entanglement spells, and it's like some
Area
end
of effect
kind of
stuff.
thing,
Yeah.
and how they implement. So that was just basically just in addition to that. And again, it kind of it all looks good.
It
The
looks great,
aesthetic,
doesn't it?
the
It
aesthetics
does look
just
so good.
I don't know how they've hit it quite like they have because it feels so familiar yet so foreign. Because like even
Yeah,
on the
we've said
key art
that.
on
We've
the
said that so
website,
much, haven't we?
yeah, on the website backgrounds of like the news articles, it's like this cool kind of stylized cartoon drawings. Um I'm just looking at it now, and there's like a burning tiki man, and it's like obviously these creatures with spears in the air and stuff, and like even just that, and thinking back to our care package actually, like the stickers and stuff, like it's so unique in that respect.
Yeah.
And like I say, with the inclusion and like this cycle, I'm going to keep referring to it to the
It'd be
cycle
great if
now.
one day we could somehow get Eugene or someone on from the art team and just sort of like just have a chat and just see how
Yeah,
just the whole process of it and where they took inspiration from and you know what I mean? Just
yeah.
it'd be
'Cause it
so
is
good if
very
we.
unique in the
No,
videos
yeah, it is. Yeah,
when
yeah.
the imps start swearing and, like, probably, like, it
Yeah, I'd love to
it
see what they
takes
bring.
yeah, what was the inspiration and stuff. I'd
Yeah,
100% be down for that. So if you're there, Artificial Core, Eugene, everyone, come say hi, let's have a chat.
come say hi. Yeah.
Come say hi. Um, but
Well,
yeah,
cheers for today, Mike. Appreciate it. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you haven't noticed that my PC died 3 times whilst trying to record this episode. So yeah, if we go off on a tangent in places and it doesn't match up, it's probably because we had to restart the recording. But
yeah,
hopefully you've enjoyed it. Let us know if you've enjoyed that video of the professions. Let us know if you're going to be getting into any of the professions, what you want to be doing. Are you going to be a crafter? Are you going to be a weaponsmith? You know what I
yeah.
mean?
What's your favorite profession and why? Is it
Yeah, is
alchemy?
that your
You can
question?
have 2 buffs. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
question to you.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and if you know what hero you're gonna play as, let us know that as well. Who you playing as, what you're gonna be doing. Yeah,
yeah,
let
and
us
like
know.
and subscribe because the more likes you get, the more subscribes we get, the more content we get to do with you, and bring you all the up to date news here
Yeah,
in the world of
100%.
Corepunk.
Alright. Well, until next time. When is the
Till
next
next time.
time? What's the next video gonna be? Hopefully, it could be something to do with the playtest. That'd be great.
Oh,
Oh
and
my god.
maybe you'll just have to like and subscribe to find out because that video's going up. Who knows when? See you
Yeah,
soon.
that's it. Right, see you later. Bye.
Bye.